Fae is beautiful and mystical from the get-go. Stunning palettes of colour quench a thirst that you might not know you have. Purples and blues shroud the forest in ethereal glaze, shrouding a mystery that just needs exploring. Art is definitely the focus of Fae, with its bright background colours contrasting against the darkened foregrounds. It's hard to deny that the artistic angle is by far one of the game's greatest assets. Even the most glorious pieces of art can occasionally grow tiresome to the eyes, but you know what? Fae never felt like that in style, only in the landscapes. Trees and rocks scatter the hills and forests, but they're all too familiar, and unfortunately hardly any major landmarks exist, making it easy to get lost in a world of familiar assets. Later areas are a little bit more diverse, from snowy mountains to watery beaches, but the same features still pop up, making them feel all too familiar. Devoid of any major combat, Fae has a unique set of characteristics including no health bar, no user interface and no attack button. Tutorials are often given by small window prompts with next to no description, and while I praise it for trying something new, this can lead to a bit of confusion at times. The main fuel in the fire is the howling mechanic, letting you communicate with the forest itself, from the smallest animals to flowers and plants, creating new ways to move forward through the dense woods. Keeping in tune with the elder animals of the forest teaches you new languages, so you can communicate with their entire species. For example, learning a chirp from a giant bird will give you the ability to communicate with other birds in the forest, and they may let you even hitch a ride on their back to get to some new places. Holding the pitch of your howl can either be done by tilting the controller, utilising motion controls, or there is even an option to have the control tethered to the right stick. Learning this action was the first major frustration I encountered, as the visual prompt makes it seem like you have to rock the controller backwards and forwards in a repetitive motion, kinda similar to a rhythm game, as opposed to finding the right angle and holding the controller at it until you've learnt the howl. An interesting feature tethered to the howl is a guide bird. It's summoned by howling as high as you can for a couple of seconds, and when you howl at it a second time, it will fly off in a direction that it should be heading. This comes incredibly handy when you're not really sure on what you need to do next. The haunting sound of the cello and violas only increase to the feeling of fantasy and wonder that Fae already radiates, and honestly, it's one of the most fitting soundtracks they could have graced the game with. Almost ambient in places, the soundscape of animals and life complements the dark yet warm soundtrack amazingly. From creepy screeches to echoing roars, there really is so much depth to the sound if you just stand there and listen for a couple of seconds. The main narrative is quiet to say the least, with bulks of it being optional as collectibles. You're treated to some short cutscenes every once in a while, but nothing that will actually tell you what the story is. That you'll have to decipher on your own. The basic premise though, is that the forest itself is under threat. A robot-like race of cycloptic creatures known as the Silent Ones are taking animals of the forest. Hiding from these enemies is pretty much all you can do, as you can't attack. And this actually makes Fae fresh compared to other 3D platformers of its type. Diving into the nearest patch of long grass will help you stay away from their headlight gaze. As with most 3D platformers, there's a variety of pickups and collectibles for you to locate. Tracking down and collecting things at a steady pace is almost essential, as they not only make the story a little less confusing, but they also unlock handy abilities. Pink crystals, for example, unlock new moves to help you progress, such as the ability to be able to hop up trees. This particular ability feels great thanks to its fast and swift movements. There's also giant stone tablets to hunt down, with hieroglyph style story cues etched into them. While short in narrative, these can slowly piece together the game's story for you. And finally, we have small crystal orbs which you can look through to relive a part of the past. This is where the majority of the plot is at its smartest, giving you an insight to the story from the other side. While full of charm and breathtaking moments, Fae unfortunately falls short when it comes to pure performance. The first half of my playthrough was tormented with framerate halts and crashes, closing the game down entirely at times. Nor were these once in a while events, happening multiple times in an hour. Fortunately, Fae has a fantastic autosave system, so I never actually lost anything, but it doesn't remove the fact that it's a little bit annoying at times. There's a few other moments where you'll clip through something or get stuck for a short while, bringing the fun down just a little bit. Thankfully, it does ramp back up again as you head to the next area and discover yet another new mechanic to keep you on your toes. For those of you with an artistic side, be it visually or musically, there's plenty of impressive moments that shine through, complementing the grand ideas and mechanics that make Fae truly charming and a candy to the senses. A small gem of a creative platformer is unfortunately lost to a variety of confusion, repetitive landscapes and performance issues that hold it back from being a strong 3D platformer in all its shining glory. Fans of 90s platformers may be completely at home with this one, with some cleverly designed moments keeping you on your toes, but Fae feels a little bit undercooked at times, and in need of a bit of a care patch to really dig out the glory that's buried beneath.
Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, check out some of our other videos, and visit thenintendovillage.com, your home for everything Nintendo.